Okay, we have a big panel tonight. It's a big day. Milind Rege, former cricketer, was the person who first put forward his name for selection in '89. He was in part of the junior selection committee when he put his name up for Mumbai. So that's a big day for Milind Rege. I mean, how many years back is that? That's 24 years.
25 years?
25 years back. We talk about it. Well done.
Well played.
Well done, Milind Rege. Shailendra Singh, Managing Director of Percept. He knows the sports business well. He's with us tonight. Sohail Seth has been tweeting about it. And just a Sachin lover tonight is joining us. Arjuna Ranatunga, former captain of Sri Lanka, is live with us from Colombo. Kishore Bhimani, former senior sports journalist, is live with us from Kolkata. And I think joining us also Mihir Bose will be joining us in a few minutes. Let's begin. Karsan Ghavri, former Indian cricketer, was Sachin's coach during the Mumbai Ranji team '94. And Sachin was captain of the Ranji team, which won the title under Karsan Ghavri. He's also joining us today. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, let's begin. Let's go straight. Kishore Bhimani, did he get the timing right? Did Sachin get the timing right? Should he have done this earlier?
What a lovely thought it is that we come to discuss cricket on the positive side. Something happy. I think it's a very happy day that a great master gives us so many good memories, so many good things to talk about. You talk about the timing or not, all I'd like to say is I was among those minority of people who perhaps felt that 2011 would have been the right time when he was right on top, brought back memories of Gavaskar who had left while he was absolutely on top. And I agree, being a great Sachin admirer, I didn't want to hear from people, why doesn't he leave? He's had a great innings. He's playing patchy cricket. No, maybe he was left it a little late, but what a great player.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing's taking away from that. Arjuna Ranatunga, former captain of Sri Lanka, what do you think eventually played on Sachin's mind when he took that decision? Mr. Ranatunga?
I think it's up to him to take those decisions. It's very difficult for outsiders to decide when a player should retire. Knowing Sachin for so many years, I know that he will take that right decision at the right time. I'm sure that we all should appreciate that and acknowledge that this great man has done a huge service for cricket in general, not only for Indian cricket. Remember, it's not only for Indian cricket, the entire cricket in the world. And when he decided he should go, I'm sure that we all should appreciate that.
No, but just see one second. Let's get it correct. There's no taking away from what he's achieved. I did say that to you as well. There's no taking away, but let's be very practical. Ricky Ponting also retired under certain circumstances. And the question about a cricketer's retirement is not an illegitimate question. I mean, I'm sure there are certain circumstances which forced him to do a rethink. Now, Milind Rege, who's with me in the studio, Sachin called you today, by the way.
Yeah, just
tell us about that phone call. When did you speak to him?
I went on the show, previous one.
Around 6:45.
Around 6:54 to be precise.
Yeah.
Because he called me to say a big thank you to all that some of us had helped him during his career. Very nice of him, but I'm not surprised that he's done that, because that's what Sachin is all about. He's appreciative of what people have done for him.
Yes,
There's a lot of regard for people, and he's a very natural person. It's not that it's put on and things like that. Coming back to the discussion that you had earlier, did he time it right?
Yeah, did he time it right?
I think if I know Sachin correctly, he's timed it perfectly, because I personally feel he thinks that it's the right time to go, because he wasn't doing so well. He's gone on record many a time, Arnab, to say that if I'm unable to contribute for the team, to the team, then I'm going to make way for the others. And I'm quite sure that thought must have crossed his mind heavily.
Played on his mind?
Of course.
He hasn't been playing. He also, Mihir Bose, he has not been playing very much. If you actually look at how much he has played, Mihir Bose, he's not played very much in 2013.
Yes.
When would he play last? I think in March he played last. So obviously there was some thought process going on there. What do you think, Mihirda?
Well, I was under the impression he would go to South Africa and retire in South Africa. But I think, a retirement of a cricketer, a retirement of any sportsman, is that moment when he thinks that from now on his life is going to change. You're retired forever. And I remember talking to Michael Vaughan in the summer, the Ashes summer, and asking about Tendulkar. And he said, at the end of the day, whatever Sachin has done, and he's done brilliantly, there's no question about it, after he retires, he still have to get up in the morning and wonder, what he's going to do. So presumably Sachin has worked out. I agree with Kishore that he should have probably retired in 2011. India were number one, they'd won the World Cup and so on, and maybe that was the moment to go. But who knows? Like Donald Bradman went in 1948 when the Australians were on top, undefeated in England and so on. But that sort of timing is very difficult, because for a cricketer, and Milind would know this, having been himself a considerable cricketer, that once you leave the field, that's it. After that, you go into the commentary box, go into politics, what you do, your life changes.
But go ahead.
Sorry, but Mihir, nice talking to you, Mihir. The point is that if Sachin felt that he was still on top of his game, even in 2011, why would anybody want to retire at the top? What's this theory? Because if I can still contribute to the team, am I not being a bit selfish by retiring when I'm on top? And if I can serve the game, why not?
But no, there is a theory, Milind. There is a theory, Milind, which says that you must retire when the public still wants a bit more of you. And probably, given the standards Indian politicians have set, that's not a very popular theory in India. But nevertheless, that's a theory to be said. I leave the stage with the crowd saying, please don't go,
Okay, Shailendra wants to come in.
I tend to agree with Mihir on one point, which is, I think, very valid, that there are three personalities Sachin is carrying. One of an athlete, one of a brand, and one of a human being. And to be honest, at 2011, if he called it a day, it would be at his complete peak. And therefore, he could actually get off the field and continue the legacy of his brand at a high that would have been fantastic for the whole nation. But I think he didn't do that. And he didn't do that for a reason, because I personally believe that Sachin didn't know what he was going to do beyond playing cricket. He didn't make up his mind that if I give up cricket, what am I going to do with my life? This kid has been playing since the age of 8, this sport. So I think there was a bit of a predicament, but 2011 was a spot-on decision. He could have walked out as big as a brand on the field, off the field, if he called it a day at that time.
Yeah, that point is there. The fact is that nobody should be able to overwhelmed or underwhelmed by statistics, but I don't know what, maybe he wants to do it in Mumbai. He wants to do it before his home crowd. Maybe there's a lot of emotional content going through him. I wonder what would be going through Sachin Tendulkar's mind today.
For sure.
Let's get that from Karsan Ghavri. And Karsan, you were his coach during the Mumbai Ranji team, 1994. Mr. Ghavri, good evening. Can you hear me? The Arnab here.
Yeah.
What do you think is going through Sachin's mind?
Very, very good evening to you. Well, I can tell you one thing, if Sachin personally has decided that he wants to quit the game, and I think when he has done it, it's the right time, because all this time, for last year or two, a lot of people, a lot of media, the various things have been saying that, he should retire. But if he has decided to quit, he has chosen the right moments. He has chosen the right time, and it's a time, for him to go when he plays.
No, but what happened? I'm sure Sachin says that it's the right time, but I must ask the difficult question. The difficult question is that I spoke to him about a year back. I think exactly a year back, when we were playing a clip of that. And as I said when I started the Newshour, Sohail, let me put that question to you. I didn't find Sachin, when I was speaking to him, to be willing to talk much about retirement. There was a degree of discomfort when we were talking. It was 35 minutes when he talked about retirement. At the end of it, he says, I'm going to have to answer in some other language. and when I asked him, what are you going to do after retirement, there was a sense of emptiness.
Exactly. Off the field.
So I wonder, like a lot of people feel today,
See, boss,
what happened recently.
One thing, all these times, this retirement thing has been going on for a year or two, right? And Sachin, possibly, it is playing in back of his mind. The kind of pressure he has taken for over 20 years, that really never bothered him. But maybe, this talk, about his retirement, possibly it must be bothering him or something like that. But I personally feel, it should not. And when he plays, his 200th, test match, and if he scores a century in a test match, and then the people of India, the cricket lovers of India, not only in India, but globally, like, there should come out, Janta kehna chahiye ki no Sachin, no test match.
No, I understand. No, nobody wants to be put in that situation. I'm just comparing today the retirement decisions of Tendulkar and Ricky Ponting, the two batting greats of our time. Ponting retired soon after realizing that he'd been underperforming for a period of time. He even admitted to it, I think, at a press conference when he retired. Now, the question is being asked in the context of Sachin, and nobody's questioning what he has done. But the question is what really happened. Now, I put that question. Sohail Seth, do you think he got the timing right? That's what we are talking about this evening. What do you think?
I think Sachin has always got his timing right. I don't think any one of us is in prime position to question the timing. We're not even in prime position to, question the veracity of his decision. I'm not a subscriber to the view that when person X asks me to go away, I should go away.
Why?
It's entirely up to Sachin. What you must remember, however, is, as Mr. Ghavri said, there's a 200th test. It's a significant number.
Yeah.
And, statisticians always love numbers. Number two, look at what this man is going away with. He's going away with the 3 Ds to my mind: decency, dignity, and distinction. As you rightly said, he's an icon not for every Indian. He's an icon for every young person who wants to start out in life, not necessarily in sport. So, you've got to credit the man for the tremendous achievement he has had to his credit. You've also got to give the man credit for one thing. It is an empty life when you walk away, but Sachin must know that when he leaves the pitches of a cricket stadium, he will never leave the hearts of billions of people who he's inspired. So today is a day of saluting the man, not necessarily recrimination, discussion, and saying, but why didn't he retire a year earlier? I mean, I would want half our members of parliament never to have come in, forget retirement. I mean, but here's Sachin Tendulkar, who has stood up as a beacon of hope, as a beacon of inspiration. Salute him today. Let today's Newshour be a positive eulogy to a man who has walked with grace and with dignity.
What are you trying to suggest? Sohail said on a lighter note, what are you trying to suggest by saying, let tonight's Newshour be positive? I take serious offense. Let me say this today. That whatever cricket is today is largely because of Sachin. Sure. Not just in terms of his performances. I think, statistics are one part of the story. By the way, Hemant Kenkre, welcome to the discussion. Great to have you in the studio. But I believe that for all the questions about whether he got the timing right, he has inspired people.
Sure.
He has inspired people to get into cricket. He has inspired a whole sporting generation. He, as the first big brand, inspired other people to also be brands. So he has broken these frontiers, and I think his greatest contribution is as a role model. What do you think, Hemant? First of all, why don't you take us back, memory lane on your association with him and what comes to your mind today? Because how many years do you go back?
Well, a long time. 28 almost. I would say 24 plus.
And tell me about the first association you had with Sachin.
Well, basically, Mr. Acharya, who was his coach, asked me to give him a pair of pads that I had.
Yeah.
And those pads, as luck would have it, belonged to Sunil Gavaskar.
Wow.
He had just given it to me. And I was just a repository of those pads, frankly.
Okay.
So they were just waiting to be picked by somebody else. Unfortunately, his pads, the ultralight ones, were nicked when he was in a coaching camp in Pune. And so he couldn't use any other pad. And that's precisely why, those pads were meant to go to him from one genius to another. And Mr. Rege, of course, was very much part of that. How
coincidental, how wonderful.
Yeah, and it so happened that Milind and I were part of CCI in those days, running the cricket. And in that time, we always, every year, used to look at getting fresh talent in as playing members.
Yeah.
And Sachin's name was right on top there. And CCI sort of, Mr. Madhav Apte was the president, broke, sort of changed the rules.
Yeah.
And got a 14-year-old into a club where an 18-year-old, if you're not 18, you can't enter the clubhouse.
This is which year? 97?
87, yeah.
And I think 88, when he was 15, he scored that unbeaten century. When he was playing against Gujarat at the Wankhede Stadium.
Yes.
You spotted his talent. You saw him going up there?
That, if I may
You remember that?
That was interesting because I was a part of that selection committee.
Yeah.
And I suggested his name to the panel. Naren Tamane, Ramakant Desai were the two giants of Mumbai's cricket. They were there. And they didn't accept it.
They did not?
They did not accept it because Sunil Gavaskar at 17 had failed on his debut when he played for Mumbai. And in those days when you played for Mumbai and you got out without scoring,
this
you
is
weren't,
87.
87. You weren't looked at again for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Such was the competition.
But hadn't Sachin, along with Kambli, scored that 664 unbeaten partnership? That was when he was 14, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was
so hadn't he proved himself?
No, but what was felt is that he's not ready. The Mumbai team was very strong in those days.
Yeah,
he wasn't ready to still come in the top. But wiser counsels prevailed, and what happened, and I must appreciate what my colleagues did, is that they said that let's not take the case of Sunil, but let's allow Sachin to fail 4 times. The important word here is to allow him to fail 4 times. If he fails 4 times, we have been fair to him.
But
that's a brilliant story.
Where Mr. Acharya used to carry him, make him play 3 different games in one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
He used to make him bat in 3 different games.
Yeah.
It's tremendous, but this whole debate of how young is too young. I mean, when he went and became was he the first youngest or the second youngest centurion? When he was 17-year-old, second youngest centurion, and I think that's fantastic, because when he became the second youngest centurion, that proved that all the faith all of you had invested in him, he proved you right. He was 17 years at that time.
But Arnab, let me come in here.
Yeah.
When I say that, look, all of us were just there.
Yeah.
All the coaches, all the people who watched him were just there by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent was so prodigious that you could not stop him from doing what he did.
Yeah.
So if he came to my net, I was lucky. If he came to my club, I was lucky.
Yeah.
If he had gone to some other club, it's not that the club or the coach or anybody would have done what he is.
Yeah.
Acharya did different things with him. He taught him how to play cricket.
Yeah.
Acharya didn't stop his natural talent, and that's the greatness of Acharya.
Yeah.
But the fact remains that such was his talent that you couldn't
one thing is surely established, that he's a super genius, because a kid from the age of 8 decides to do something and continues to do it till today.
Yeah.
Those are like serious legends like Einstein's and people who have made up their mind to do one thing their whole life.
At which point in his career, Mihirda, let me ask you this: at which point in his career do you think he truly crossed that threshold into being into greatness? Everyone has that moment when they feel Sachin became the great or the greatest after that. And some people feel it was when Don Bradman. For me, that moment when he met Don Bradman face to face. 2 years later, I think it was when he actually overtook Don Bradman's record of 29 centuries. For me, that was the moment when he was entering that club, very super exclusive club of greatness. But I'd like to bounce that off Mihirda.
Well, I think I saw his first Test century at Old Trafford, where he helped India draw a match that they looked like losing. I personally think the moment where Sachin showed, not so much on the cricket field, but what he showed was his ability beyond the cricket field when he became the first non-white to play for Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Now, that was a major thing. Here was Yorkshire, who had never played anybody from outside Yorkshire. Here was Sachin Tendulkar coming from India. And let me tell you, that first press conference, he came to the Oval and he referred to Gavaskar as Mr. Gavaskar. And the English journalists were very surprised. They were used to people calling Botham beefy and so on and so forth, the sort of matiness. And the way Sachin came over, he was part of what, for me, I am the Midnight's generation. So is Milind. In fact, it's very interesting.
Is he? Milind doesn't think so.
Anyway. Arnab, you've done a record. Two of us are both from... both of us are from St. Xavier's. And of course, Sachin hammered St. Xavier's in that innings and made the boys cry.
I wasn't bowling to him.
That old school who got hammered by Sachin. But the point is, But the point is, he was part of that. He's part of that generation who didn't have colonial hangovers, who believed that the Indians could win. His first memory was of India winning the World Cup, and to me, he represents the completely new Indian generation. And what he did when he came to Yorkshire, he showed we are not. Remember at Headingley, we were 0-for-4 against Fred Truman in 1952. Remember that. To me, it's still a very painful memory. I read about it a lot, and yet here was Sachin, the Indian hero, making a major pathway.
No, I agree with you. You're talking. Let's Sohail wanted to come in. Let's get Sohail back on this. This is what This is so interesting. This what I was talking about was 2002. Donald Bradman, 2001, 2000. Mihirda actually took us back 8 years to 1992, and therefore what Mihirda is saying is very significant, Sohail. He's saying that the 19-year-old Sachin, in April 1992, by being the first a person from outside to be signed up by Yorkshire was already breaking those boundaries. That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful. Yes, Sohail. Sohail wanted to come in. Yes, Sohail.
But Arnab, there's an interesting point that was touched upon earlier by Shailendra, I think, when he talked about Sachin as a brand. Very, very few brands have cross-generational appeal. Look at the passion with which a Milind or Mihirda are talking about Sachin.
Exactly.
Look at the passion with which Sachin is discussed amongst the youth. Today, a person who's 24 would have just been born when Sachin started out as a cricketer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. For brands to have cross-generational appeal, to have cross-generational relevance and cross-generational respect is tremendous. It's unheard of. I mean, you don't use your father's toothpaste. You certainly don't use your father's car.
Well said.
But here's Sachin Tendulkar, who has spanned like this gigantic eagle across generations, remained relevant. The core values of the brand haven't changed: decency, dignity, and distinction. And he's still someone who every Indian, no matter whether he's a grandfather or a child, looks up to with nothing but admiration. Yeah. That, to my mind, is the telling quality of Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar, and will remain so forever.
I just like to add one small thing to this, that I think it's also a measure of a person's ability to go through adversity and back. I'd like to get you back on that. 2006. I remember 2000. By the way, let me tell you this. Let me confess this today. I told this to Sachin after interviewing Sachin and talking to him for 35 minutes, which does not make me very popular, by the way. I told him that, Sachin, you must know this. Before and after the interview, I said, I am just your greatest fan. And this is most difficult for me to ask you the question, which unfortunately needs to be asked, but doesn't take away from all that you have achieved. And why I like Sachin so much? Because of 2006. He went through the knife, and I remember when he struggled for one run in 33 minutes against England in Mumbai, he was booed off the ground by his home crowd. Let's talk about the difficult moments. He went under the knife, but he made a stunning comeback also in 2006. So I think 33-year-old Sachin, who was going through all of that and came back, I think that adds to the man's greatness. Can I just go to Arjuna Ranatunga? I know I have a bad Skype connection with him, but we're all talking about what makes Sachin so special. Is there any special moment that you have, Mr. Ranatunga?
I think he's a person who gave 100% every time he walked into a cricket field, whether it's a club game or a country game or county game, whatever he plays, he gives 100%. And not only that, I always admire him for the respect he made for the senior cricketers. I think it's a really good eye-opener for some of the young cricketers today.
Yeah.
And coming back to the retirement part, only unfortunate thing I saw in the last couple of years when Sachin started, only issue I see is Sachin Tendulkar was a star. But when he fails, the India doesn't compare him with the other colleagues. They try to compare with great Sachin rather than the Sachin who struggles getting runs. I think that's an unfairness he went through maybe a couple of months. But I personally feel that Test cricket needs people like Sachin. I think we all know that Test cricket is dying. I think people like Sachin should have been gone forever. I know that it's not the right comment to make, but people like Sachin, they are the ones who can protect this very important game for all of us.
Yeah. But on a slightly more positive note, it can also be said that he's going away at a time when there is, when there's a younger lot coming up. There is Kohli, there is, you can talk about Shikhar Dhawan, there's Cheteshwar Pujara. So, Indian cricket, in a way, at a time when Sachin is going away, we all know this Indian cricket is slowly moving into good hands, and I think that's also something that Sachin will take away from, his own difficult decision today.
Earlier you talked about greatness with Mihir.
Yeah.
Now, greatness is a term very loose.
One second, Sohail saying something there. Yeah, Sohail, one second. Sorry to interrupt you there. Yes, Sohail.
I'm saying, look at the paradox. Here is a man who delivered, who gave value, who inspired millions walking away, and yesterday you interviewed a man who doesn't want to leave. That's the irony. The two sides of the coin called cricket in India.
Yep. Well, Well said.
We're not going to go there, though.
Sohail also always gets it spot on. Yes, what were you saying?
Earlier on, you were discussing with me here about greatness.
Yeah.
Now, greatness is a term very loosely used in our country. What is greatness? And Sachin started moving towards that road of greatness in Perth, when he played the quickest bowlers on the fastest of track. And that was the time you realized that, yes, here is a great man coming into, the limelight. And that's why I feel that people like Sachin, they don't come just like
yes,
me.
Hemant.
Yeah, I have a personal anecdote vis-a-vis Sachin and greatness. This was the year was 1990, and he did an advertisement for a family friend of mine, a relative actually, free, because I asked him to do it. And while we were coming back from the shoot, there were a couple of people, were saying, oh, you're so great, etc., etc. And then I asked him in the car, I said, Sachin, what's this? How do you react to the fact, you were 17 years old, by the way. How do you react to the fact that people are calling you great? He said, greatness, what Sachin said was, comes after a while of consistent performance.
Yep.
After many, many years.
Yep.
And then he also said that, who is a great to me? Sir Garfield Sobers is great. Sir Vivian Richards is great.
Yep.
Sunil Gavaskar is great.
Yep.
The greatness comes then, It just doesn't come because you're a brilliant player or you can just whack the ball all across the park.
Yeah, but he always
and
underplayed.
This comes from a 17-year-old,
he's
lad.
just a 17-year-old Sachin, and then there's 37-year-old Sachin 20 years later who gets his first ICC award. I think it's the Sir Garfield Sobers trophy. And even then, from what one has seen of him, he's always underplayed himself. He's never, he underplays himself, which is what makes him great. Now let me play out that little difficult conversation which I had with Sachin. This, ladies and gentlemen, is 1 year and 1 week back. It was recorded in a hotel in Mumbai, and for 40 minutes we talked about it. The whole interview is going to be telecast at 10 p.m. tonight. There's a small clip. Sachin, can you be a little more specific? I understand completely where you're coming from. And I completely admire the way in which you have played your cricket. And let me tell you, Sachin, nobody can take what you've achieved away from you. I want you to, today in the course of this interview, tell me openly about what you think about the R word, retirement. And let me also tell you this, Sachin. I would also, like millions of Indians, completely not be able to come to terms with the fact that Sachin Tendulkar would not be playing for India. It's a reality, isn't it? So can you get more specific? What are your boundaries? When will it happen? What is your calendar, Sachin?
I think to be any more specific than this, I may have to speak in different language. I think I've been...
How many more years? How many more years?
No, nobody decides like that. Nobody decides. I don't know what's in store. I wish I knew. If I had known, so many things would have happened differently. I would not have to had to wait for 22 years to lift the World Cup trophy. I would have done that in the first instance itself in Australia in 1991-92.
Yep.
But there are certain things, which you don't know. Most of the things in cricket, you will say that one would say that you don't know. It is beyond anyone's control. You can only go out and give your best, but you don't know the end result.
Will you play the next World Cup?
And the same thing. No, I don't think I'll be playing the next World Cup.
Why?
I don't think. I'm already 39, so that's the only reason.
You'd be what, by the next World Cup? You'd be 43?
Hard to calculate.
43. Let me ask you, what do you think about the whole question of retirement?
Again, I'm 39, and I don't think, that there is plenty of cricket left in me. Yes, it also depends on how I feel, whether I feel I'm in a frame of mind or physically prepared to deliver. If I feel I'm not capable of delivering when it's needed, then obviously I need to relook at the whole thing. But I also know that, at 39, nobody expects me to go on and on. I know that.
A lot of people actually do.
No, but it's nice of them that, that they want me to go on and on. But, one has to be realistic. And to me, I just go by what my heart tells me. The day I feel, no, I'm not able to deliver, Now, these are two separate things, scoring runs and what I feel inside. It can be a coincidence that, the same, in these three innings that I got out, the same thing can happen at the age of 25, nobody would have questioned. But it's happening at the age of 39, everyone will question, which is natural. It's natural. But then I am the best judge to evaluate things, because I know what is happening with my body or my mind, and then I'll take a call. It's going to be a tough call. It's going to be a tough call to say that I'm not going to play anymore cricket.
Why will it be a tough
Because
call?
that is what I've done throughout my life. It's been my life. And then all of a sudden there comes a moment where you say, okay, I cannot go on. It's going to be a tough call.
You think about that moment?
Yes, I mean, I do think about that. I'd be lying if I say, no, I'm not thinking of retiring all that. Yes, it comes on my mind. I'm 39 plus, and it's but natural to feel that way. And I don't see any abnormality in thinking that way. It's natural. That's the only reason I'm saying that whatever my heart tells me, I just got to be sharp enough.
What is your heart telling you now?
Well, at this moment I'm okay, but you got to take series by series, and that is how I will see.
I want to go across for comments on that. Mihir, I thought he did very well there. When I was talking to him, I thought he wasn't dodging it. He opened up, he talked, he spoke quite well, and I told him that later that he was quite honest as he could be about it. What do you think? When he was handling that question, he wasn't ducking it. He knew it was coming.
No, he wasn't ducking it, and I must say, Arnab, and I hope I get on your program again, you interviewed him very well. So you bowled some good balls that he negotiated very well. I was impressed with how honestly he said, and I think from his answers you can see that he was trying to work out when he should go, and what it means what retirement means to a player. That was very evident. He was weighing up, what am I going to do next? There's been a lot of speculation, what do you do? And let me leave you with one thought on this question of retirement. I just wonder, I don't know, I'm not privy to his thoughts, I don't know who is. I wonder if he planned it, that he wanted to retire against the West Indies. Because I remember years ago talking to Raj Singh, who was chairman of the selectors, that they didn't pick Sachin, who was very young, to go to the West Indian tour, and Sachin felt that he was ready to make his debut for India. If you remember, he made his debut against Pakistan in Pakistan, and of course Vivian Richards was his great hero, so maybe he feels, because I think Sachin is somebody who likes to close things properly, and maybe he feels this is the moment to close his career and then move on to something new.
Yeah, well, equally, playing in South Africa and winning in South Africa, which we haven't done in South Africa, would also be, that still rankles somewhere. I'm sure even it rankles even for Sachin Tendulkar. So a man like Sachin is not short of options. Kishorda, what do you think? Now, here's a broader question. And okay, Kishorda, go ahead.
May I make two small points, Arnab?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, two small points. You asked a question earlier about when did Sachin attain this greatness.
Yeah.
To me, there are three separate times. One is in at the Sialkot match during his first tour, when he got hit on the nose by Zakir Khan and he was bleeding, and he refused to come off the field in what was going to be a drawn match. Number two was the match in which Mihir talked about, the Old Trafford match, where I was very much there, and he made 119 on the 14th of August 1990, when he grew into a fully equipped batsman. And the third point, where he became really great, was when he finished with his captaincy and came back even better. To me, these are the three turning points, so all three where I happened to be present, where the different aspects, his courage, his skill, and his capacity for his maturity all came to
Can I add my two-bit layman input to that? 2001, when he scored that famous century in that famous decider of a series, he denied Australia the victory at 2-1. No, I'm talking about 2001. He was called the thorn in the Aussie flesh. I think that was a great moment as far as I'm concerned. Yes, Sharan.
Yeah, the point I was to make, I saw Sachin's brand transform when Mark Mascarenhas was there at the finals in Sharjah, the Desert Storm, the match that got stopped in between, and he came. There was a lot of debate whether Sachin was playing for himself or was he really playing innings to make the
You're
team
talking
win.
about 98?
Yes, and he made
How could he play for himself? There were two blazing back-to-back centuries
Exactly,
there against Australia at Sharjah. That is why we reached the final and we won it.
But that particular knock was transforming. And if you remember, the flamboyancy of Sachin Tendulkar, the brand came out because Mark Mascarenhas ran on the field and picked him in his arms, and that's the he gifted him a car. So you suddenly saw a flamboyant side of Sachin, and the brand sort of moved on to its next level. But I have just a one point on I personally believe in cricket, and Milind will vouch for it. When you score a 50 or 100, you take a fresh guard in the crease. I personally believe that Sachin should take a fresh guard now. He's done with on the field. He should take a fresh guard, and off the field, he is the ultimate sports legend in a country of 1.3 billion people.
Oh, totally.
He should completely rocket off the field. I think this generation is looking up to him. True. And all of us are seriously going to miss him. And a thought that goes through my mind is, when he's watching your debate tonight, what is he doing at home tonight? How does he feel?
Well, I don't know. I hope he's watching. But I just said this right at the start. I said this too. I will say this again, that, when 1.2 billion people, everybody watching tonight is wishing you well. Exactly. I said Sachin Tendulkar knows somewhere.
There's no retirement.
And Sachin, if you're watching this, let this go out from all of us to you. There is not one Indian today who does not wish you the best for whatever you do. At 40, there are very few people who achieve that, and I think you are one of those greatest.
Not one cricket player in the world.
Yes, sorry, Sohail. You're saying something,
I'm saying, why Indian? Yeah. If you see the tweets that have been coming across.
It's across the globe. Yeah.
I'm saying, if you look at the tweets, there have been legendary cricketers who've been tweeting about this man's greatness. I think he is beyond nationality.
Yeah.
Anyone who loves cricket, anyone who loves sport, anyone who loves sporting icons, loves Sachin Tendulkar.
I completely agree. Yes.
I must tell you an interesting story for the benefit of your viewers. When Sachin was 15 years old and he'd already played for Mumbai, having knocked up that 100, he was playing a game at the CCI in one of those Kanga League matches. And he was signing an autograph for somebody with his left hand. And Sunil Gavaskar was somewhere watching him. Gavaskar called me and told him, tell him to sign correctly because that name will be read forever and ever again. I went and told Sachin, I said, Tendulkar, don't just... I used to call him Tendulkar. I said, Tendulkar, don't just scratch your name. Write it correctly.
So what did you tell Tendulkar today when he called?
I got a bit emotional because, I'm not surprised when he called me and said thank you for everything. Because that is Sachin Tendulkar. He has a great regard for elders. He has great regard for those who helped him along the way, and for God bless him. We are going to miss him. And I have a point of view from the cricketing angle. I wish Sachin had gone to South Africa. Because his presence in this team at number 4 would have, around him people would have played, like you said earlier.
But maybe he wants to do it.
And also I want to say something, that many a number 4 who haven't played for India for 24 years will now find a place there.
That's true.
24 years, all the number 4s of the Indian, cricket have been waiting.
Who would you put at number 4?
Maybe a Rohit Sharma is a strong contender at that position.
Yeah, but that's not really what we're talking about today. Hemant?
I think you talk about greatness, and I think one thing about Sachin is that his, as a human being, as a person, like Milind rightly said, respecting people. I remember interviewing him at his house, 95, and the last question I asked him was, what would you like to be remembered as? He just said one thing: my father has always been telling me to be remembered to be a good human being. Somewhere down the line, after many years, when I do retire, when I hang up my boots, if people remember me as a good human being, I've achieved what I have to achieve.
So simple.
Just as I wrap this up, and on the other side, we are going to play out that frankly speaking interview, where I personally think he was truly frank, he was truly honest, he was handling, he was if I may say so, he was in that interview which we are playing next, he was a complete bundle of emotions. And Sachin knew that. But there's just one thing which goes out from everyone. There is one cricketer today and one person whose flamboyance was not in his haircut or his clothes or, in the car he drove or what he was presenting himself as. His flamboyance was in his cricket, and his greatness is in his humility. So Sachin, we are all going to miss you. We wish you well. We all love you. All the very best.